this is Ree here. Thank you so much for joining me. Om Madhyaye Namaha. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing. It really helps me out. Don't forget to check out my website, paradoxastrology.com. Book your consultation today. I can help you with anything. And if you'd like more exclusive occult videos that I don't post on YouTube, consider subscribing to my Patreon. It also helps to support this channel. Okay, let's get into this video. Now, I've been meaning to make this video for a while, but I was feeling a little bit ill for my sadhana, so thank you so much for your patience, and I won't disappoint you. Now, this is the year of Mars 2025, so this is going to be very detailed. A few things before I go into chronological order. One thing we have is Jupiter and Saturn will be aspecting Sagittarius from May onwards. So there will be a war of Dharma, but in modern times, this is usually lost. So this can indicate war. And because we are in the year of Mars, Mars is aggression. It is war-like activities as well. Jupiter will also aspect Rahu in Aquarius, which can bring in massive new ideas and revolutions and technology, bringing the power to the masses. Now, this year is going to be similar to 2007, astrology-wise and numerology-wise, as 2007 equals 9, which equals Mars, just like this year. A lot of these events may repeat that have happened in 2007. So there was a heat wave, and a heat wave is very possible for this year. I see that happening in North America, Asia, and Europe are possibilities. Earthquakes are very possible as well, and they usually happen during or close to the eclipses, which we'll talk about. The earthquakes are possible for Chile, Japan, offshore, but also the Hokuriku region of Japan, New Zealand, and Peru, but also the Solomon Islands and Indonesia and Mexico. Now, 3 of these, Japan, Peru, and Solomon Islands, have a possibility of a tsunami because we have so many planets that will be in Pisces during this eclipse, which we'll get into and we'll talk about, that this can trigger a tsunami. Other weather events that are possible are floods. 2007, we had some record floods in Africa, Europe, Texas. But also, I see a possible flood in Calgary, Alberta, in Canada, because Jupiter will also be in Gemini again, in Ardhara Nakshatra, and this is what caused the storm last time. Ardhara Nakshatra is ruled by Rudra, the storm god. Now, there also is a high possibility of forest fires, major forest fires with Mars, especially when Mars conjuncts K2 in Leo, and I'll give you those exact dates coming up. I also see a lot of AI regulations happening because Saturn is going to enter Pisces, and Rahu has been in Pisces for the last year, over a year, almost a year and a half, starting in March. And that brought in a lot of new creative ways of doing things using AI. But I see with Saturn coming in there, Saturn will start to regulate this. A death of a major rapper, because we're going to have a lot of similar themes to 1996. And this is when Tupac died. It was very interesting that this year we had a beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, which is exactly at the same time period when there was a beef between Tupac and Biggie, East versus West. And that's the same what happened with Drake being the East and Kendrick Lamar being West. So I see a potential of something happening to maybe one of them or another rapper that is very well known. Now, there's also can be massive transformations for Russia in regards to assets and shared resources, a risk-reward with foreign nations and natural disasters. India will gain a lot this year and hit new heights as far as its reputation goes on the world stage. Themes around the homeland, its leaders, celebrities, and authority figures doing something completely different. Okay, so now we're going to go more in chronological order. I'm going to start from February because I've already made a video about January 2025. The only thing I want to touch on is at the end of the month, Venus will go into Pisces at the end of the month around January 28th and will conjunct Rahu, which will be happening for 110 days. And then also on February 1st, the moon will enter and conjunct both Venus and Rahu for 2 days. So on those 2 days, we'll see a lot of events from February 1st to the 3rd, around approximately It is not exact because there is no exact lines in the sky, and it's all going to be dependent on where you live, but just approximately. Now, this can make some people very rich. This can create obsessive desires as well, which can manifest as stalkers. So be careful of that. Desires can heighten and make some people fiend for sexual activity and money. That can be out of control. Obsession over multi-partners and cheating can happen because people are never satisfied. Heightened creativity, unexpected encounters with females. Many will become self-absorbed and egotistical and wanting the highest luxury brands and items, thinking it will make them happy. But an enlightenment can come too. If you have a very well placed Rahu or you do a lot of spiritual work, this can heighten your ability to download information and enlightenment or breakthroughs in your spiritual practice. The good news about this is until May 14th, Venus and Jupiter will be making a mutual exchange. This is a very powerful yoga, which will happen between Pisces and Taurus, giving strength to both signs. And money and finances can improve. Many will be purchasing and buying resources, but the real estate market will have significant losses from April till June, and also in most of January as well. This will also be good for Libra and Sagittarius. Now I'm just going over the major things I see because this video would be way too long. So now we're jumping to March 13th, 14th. This is where we have a lunar eclipse. This is going to affect Europe, much of Asia, Australia, Africa, North America, South America, the Pacific, Atlantic, Arctic, and Antarctica. And this will be in Leo in Purva Falguni. Now I'm going to give you a story about Purva Falguni so you can understand it. And this is going to sound a little bit weird because this is in the scriptures, but remember this is also a metaphor, but it can be taken literally as well. These are very deep scriptures, but it's about the Shiva Lingam, this placement. So there's a famous story. There were 7 sages that were living in the Himalayas, and they were tormented by Shiva, who would visit them in a wild, naked form. And all the women would go flock to Shiva because they would get seduced by his erect hanging phallus. Now, sages were very narrow-minded, and they cursed Shiva's phallus to fall off. And then Shiva respected their wishes and then had his phallus castrated. And as soon as this happened, the whole balance of the universe gets unsettled. And Brahma intervenes and asks the sages to worship the Shiva Lingam that they had castrated in the moment of foolishness. Shiva, pleased by their devotion and worship, takes the linga again, and thus universal balance is restored. Now, Shiva is a higher consciousness, so this is a metaphor of the higher consciousness. But in Kali Yuga, this is used in an egotistical way and can be less of a metaphor and more of a direct manifestation. Now, this is about creativity, prosperity, and procreation. But in modern times, it has been used with what I've seen with prostitution, ego, seeing how many guys a woman can sleep with in a night. An example of this is Lily Phillips. I don't know if you guys have heard of her, but she's trying to break the world record of sleeping with 1,000 guys in one night. And her moon is either Magha or Purva Falguni, but I really do believe it's Purva Falguni. Another example of this is Madonna. So it's a lot about sex, and it becomes a battleground conflict between ego, love, and harmony. A lot of these sexual themes will pop up. This will also be dealing with musicians, people in the entertainment industry, artists, photographers, anything that likes to make something beautiful, interior designers, tourism industry, making Venetian products, anything about beautification. This is the nakshatra for that. Now, what we can see is during this time, which can manifest, is breakups in relationships, past life relationships coming back, a split from celebrities and stars, because people will see them acting unusual. And I'll show you this in a minute. A death from somebody very famous can happen. Technology and creativity will merge. People being outed for certain things, doing research on celebrities, and people out these celebrities. Now, like I said, this is very similar to 2007. And what happened in 2007 was when Paris Hilton went to jail, when Britney Spears shaved her head. So I'm giving you these examples because this is about the entertainment industry. And also, K2 creates uncontrollable behavior here because it acts like Mars. So there can be a lot of rage, a lot of violence, someone having a huge ego and wanting attention, can't stop their anger. Even though I think a lot has to do with MK Ultra, and that's why I believe that Britney Spears is acting very different, but you will see erratic behaviors because people want attention, or false stories like going to jail when these are publicity stunts. For everyone, we can see people going to jail, rehab, divorces, suicides, and dying from overdoses. We had a very famous person die from an overdose, which was Anna Nicole Smith at this time. But people who are less evolved consciously will develop more egotistical behaviors and traits because K2 will enter into Leo, and then we're going to have Rahu enter into Aquarius. So this is going to make people more egotistical if they're less evolved, especially in Purva Falguni, and it will be in Purva Falguni this entire year, which is known to be pompous. Pride can be heightened in those in positions of power and authority. They will think it's their way or no way, and they will demand respect. This is a bit concerning because there is a potential for health crisis, and I'll get into that. Politicians and leaders can be very arrogant, setting down rules which are a bit exaggerated and regulations with a false sense of righteousness. I feel like Trump will be like this. He already is, and this will be in his first house as well. So this will be him, and this can be Trudeau as well. On the opposite side, the more evolved leaders like siddhas and spiritual leaders, gurus, will rise because they will have the knowledge of the ancestors and wisdom from higher source, and they can come to spread light and positivity to the masses with this sense of wisdom and dharma. Many will come from lineages of gurus with knowledge from past lives. Creativity will heighten, and many will use this to inspire others. This will be infused with technology as well, as we have Rahu in Aquarius, which will bring new inventions to the market. AI will continue to grow and expand, but so will the need for people's touch. The balance between creativity and technology will be the key here, and also what's good for the individual versus what's good for the collective. We'll also see some major events March, starting like the mid-March, because we have Sun, Mercury, Venus, Rahu conjunction starts March 14th. And then on March 28th, we have Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Rahu conjunction. And then on March 29th, we have the partial solar eclipse, which will be visible, and a lot of events will happen in Europe, North America, Africa, North Asia, South America, Atlantic, and the Arctic. And also, right after or that day, we have Saturn entering Pisces for 2.5 years. It's been in Aquarius for 2.5 years. This is very significant. This is why this is a life-changing transit, because we have Rahu and Ketu changing signs, we have Jupiter changing signs, and we have Saturn. So life-changing events are going to occur this year. Now, Saturn will come to create boundaries on the AI that's been running rampant in the creative fields. Like I mentioned, new regulations on the market. Now there will be a possibility of mad cow disease or something like that, like bird flu, for example. Cults will emerge. Last time this happened, we had NASA showing us the first images of Pluto. There's CGI. And so NASA will be making up more things like this. So there's a lot of things to do with space, the oceans, death occurring in the oceans and space or the sky, in bodies of water or trains, derailments. Psychological issues, mental health programs and institutions will ramp up because people will need them. Mass shootings with weapons, mass deaths can happen. The price of oil can skyrocket, especially in the US, and death from cancer. Spiritual enlightenment can occur. Saturn is sadhana. When we have a strict routine, it can lead to the spiritual realm. Now, the eclipse will be happening in Pisces and Uttara Bhadrapada. And like I said, we have Rahu, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Moon, and Saturn at 29 degrees Aquarius and Purva Bhadrapada. That's life-changing. I made an entire video about this, March 2025. You can check it out where I go into vast detail of what I believe is going to happen. But here's just a very short summary. Now, Uttar Bhadrapada is thunder and rain in the sky. Pisces represents the open sky. With so much happening in the sky at the moment, we have drones, mysterious fog. I have a video about the mysterious fog and what that really is, my next video, and how that relates to astrology. So check back. Also, so-called UFOs. Now, with Rahu here, which is chemicals, and Uttar Bhadrapada is observing from the sky, observing the masses. The government will probably try to do some kind of event that causes mass chaos. Saturn is in the nakshatra, Purva Bhadrapada, for dark technology that is used in ritual purposes against the masses. Ahir Bunyanya is the ruler of Uttara Bhadrapada and is a form of Rudra of the skies. So this is why a lot of this is occurring, because that's where Rahu is right now, which can equal spy technology. This is a change that must occur so that we can acquire knowledge. This is what this nakshatra is about. Knowledge is the key for liberation. So getting a certain type of knowledge that is mostly hidden from the world, yet we are given it and we can't tell anyone about it. And this is knowledge that will help you rise in life. So this, a lot of people will gain enlightenment because of this. This is why it'll be a huge awakening for humanity. And it is a desire to be free from bondage, and there's a sense of letting go. Now, the reason I say that people will desire to be free from bondage is because after that, the eclipse, like I mentioned, Saturn goes into Pisces and conjuncts Rahu. So we can see massive protests and revolutions against the government and a call for upholding the personal rights and freedom similar to 1968. That's when we had Malcolm X, who died, who was assassinated. So this will be prominent in the US, and this will be in its fourth house of homeland, but also all around the world. This is when we had massive protests in Europe. This was like the biggest protest, and I mentioned that in my other video. So a prominent rights advocate or celebrity may die, and this can be the catalyst for this revolution. But this will be hijacked or planned by the governments and elites and will not be naturally occurring. The world is a stage. Revolution can occur. Women's issues like abortion, gay rights, or the markets like Bitcoin, for example, because I see there being a dip in Bitcoin. People could also be protesting the war. This could be the meme coins people are getting scammed from. Now, the healthcare system as well. People can be protesting that because it looks like health issues will pop up, especially during March, April, May. A false flag event can occur. A tsunami and massive weather event can occur. Destructive events on waters or ships, aggression. But enlightenment, because like I said, people who will rise are yoga, meditation experts, anyone who's doing with healing, the secret knowledge of Tantra, the secret knowledge of monks, gurus. But this is also writers, musicians, professions dealing with any kind of extraordinary abilities. A lot of charity work, but also some could get huge inheritances at this time, or money out of nowhere. Now, this eclipse will directly affect Russia and its foreign alliances and reputation through conflict. The life of Putin or his health may be at risk at this time. Then on April 2nd, Mars enters Cancer for the second time. And that's when, like I said, we'll see a drop in the housing market. Then on May 14th, we have Jupiter will enter Gemini. This speeds up Jupiter and expands on traveling, learning, communication, publication. Wherever Jupiter rules in your chart, things will start speeding up. And then on May 18th, Rahu enters Aquarius. And then Ketu enters Leo. So massive changes. Then June 6th, that's when Mars enters Leo. And then we'll see a lot of changes. Mars will start being well again. But the thing is, Mars will actually conjunct Ketu in Leo on that day, June 6th, it will conjunct. So it's out of detriment, but it will create explosive events, aggressive acts that can cause major deaths that can occur. There could be a terrorist attack on a leader is possible, or someone in government or an authority figure, like a figurehead. Trump, Trudeau have to be very cautious at this time. This can give a lot of courage to go after something that you may want, and leaders will have a heightened ego and be very aggressive at this time. Then on July 28th, Mars will enter Virgo, and then things will settle down a little bit with the aggressive acts. August 17th, then we'll have a Sun K2 conjunction for 30 days in Leo. This is a very spiritual sun. This is like getting the information from the ancestors. Leaders will emerge with high sense of dharma, but then we can also see leaders getting sick or leaders dying off. Then on September 8th, 7th or 8th, depending on where you live, there will be another eclipse, and that is in Purva Bhadrapada. So this will be visible and will affect Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa, East and South America, the Pacific, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Arctic, and Antarctica. Now, Purva Bhadrapada has been outing everybody in the music industry this year, elites, for their dark practices, their secrets that come to light. And this will be more of that and a revision of that. But it's also the front part of the funeral cot. So aggression and violence will erupt in many countries and conflicts. And this can be in the matters of war, including health matters and enemies. So there's going to be a lot of matters of war during this whole year. This can involve neighboring countries to the US, which I believe is Canada, and this conjunct its natal K2 in the 11th house of the people. That has to do with the 9th house. I see that Trudeau will not be re-elected, but there's a massive change in parliament in Canada at this time. In the homelands is changing as well, in a good way though, because people are happy about it, but Trudeau seems very angry. So there's a lot going on in Canada at this time. I don't know when he's going to leave. I didn't look that up. China will have a mass transformation in regards to its leader and foreign alliances, shared resources, and financial situation. There is a risk through war or natural disasters. And then on September 21st, we have a partial eclipse, which will be visible in South Australia, Pacific, Atlantic, Antarctica, and it will be in Uttara Falguni, which is a change in the way the government is run, especially for the US, and this will be in its 10th house. So there's major changes for the US all year. And for Canada, I believe this may be when the Prime Minister changes, but it could be before that as well. I didn't look into it, but there definitely is a change happening at this time. Then on October 18th, Jupiter will briefly enter Cancer until December 5th. So this is where we can get a taste of 2026 and 2027, as Jupiter will be exalted in Cancer during this time. This is an excellent placement, and it will also help the signs ruled by Jupiter, such as Pisces and Sagittarius, and wherever this falls in your chart. So pay attention to the wisdom, knowledge, finance, themes around children, science, religion, law, happiness, abundance, spirituality that you acquire during this time, because it will continue in the latter years. So that's just a brief but long video about what I see happening next year. I'm going to have separate videos for everything, and I'll break it down even further with more detail. But I thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you, and Happy New Year.